You ever see the stock market hit some crazy all-time highs and you just stop and wonder, what are we actually making right now? It feels like we're living in this weird paradox, right? On one hand, you've got the economy of things you can actually touch, and on the other, there's this massive, almost infinite world of money. So today, let's try to unpack that. Let's tackle a huge question of our time. Why does so much money exist when it seems like nothing new is really being produced?
Okay, so to get this, you got to picture two different universes that are kind of linked together. First up, you have the real economy. This is the stuff you can see and feel. It's factories, it's products, it's actual jobs, it's value you can hold in your hand. But then there's the financial economy. And this thing is a universe of stocks and bonds and digital assets that is so much bigger. I mean, it's a place where fortunes are made and lost in the blink of an eye, a lot of the time without a single physical thing ever changing hands.
And that right there, that's the big mystery we're diving into. If this whole financial world is so disconnected from the physical one, where in the world is all that value coming from? Does it just appear out of thin air? Well, yeah, kind of. To figure this out, we need to break down the three main ways our system creates money from something other than making stuff. And the first one, well, it all starts with a very simple, very human idea.
And that idea is a promise. Seriously, the most basic way to create value today without producing a single thing is by promising to pay someone back tomorrow. We just have another name for it. Debt. And debt is the absolute bedrock of our entire modern financial system.
And the sheer scale of these promises is, well, it's just staggering. Get a load of this number. That's the U.S. national debt. Every single dollar of that is a promise the government made to pay someone back in the future. It's money that was spent years ago, on roads, on social programs, you name it, by borrowing against what the country might earn down the road. We are literally pulling value from the future into the present to make our economy run today. But, making promises like that isn't free. And that brings us to this number, $1 trillion. That is what the U.S. now spends every single year just on the interest for that debt. I mean, think about that for a second. An amount of money that could power a small country is generated not to build a new hospital or fund some groundbreaking research, but just to pay the bill for promises we made yesterday? It's a gigantic financial engine running purely on past obligations. So where is all that government money actually going? Well, when you look at the budget, you can really see the power of these old promises. That huge slice of the pie right there, that's mandatory spending. We're talking Social Security, Medicare. These are financial commitments made to people decades ago. So the bulk of what we spend today isn't on creating new stuff now, it's about making good on promises we made to our parents and grandparents' generations.
And look, this isn't just some far-off government thing. It's happening in all of our homes. For regular people, the number is a record $18.6 trillion. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards. This is how we pay for our lives today, by making promises about our ability to earn money tomorrow. Every single time you swipe a credit card, you're creating a tiny bit of money out of thin air, making our whole consumer economy run on our collective promise to eventually pay it all back.
All right, so let's move to the next layer of this thing. If promises are the foundation, the next level of creating value is even more abstract, even weirder. It's money created not from what we owe, but from what we all collectively believe is going to happen in the future. So, welcome to the wild world of speculation.
This quote from the legendary trader Jesse Livermore just nails it. Betting on the future, trying to guess what other people are going to find valuable tomorrow, that has always been a way to create wealth today. This isn't about what a company is making right now. It's about the story we tell ourselves about its potential and our belief that some other person will buy into that story later for an even higher price.
You want a perfect example of this? Let me tell you a story from the early 1970s about a group of stocks they called the Nifty 50. These were the big blue-chip companies like Coca-Cola and Polaroid. And the collective belief on Wall Street was that these companies were so dominant, so completely untouchable, you only had to make one decision: buy them. The very idea of ever selling them was considered just absurd. So what happens when literally everyone believes the same story? Well, the price gets totally unchained from reality. I mean, a normal, healthy company might trade at 15, maybe 20 times its annual profit. At its absolute peak, Polaroid was trading at 90 times its earnings. 90! The price had absolutely nothing to do with how many cameras they were selling. It was based purely on this shared belief that its future was infinite.
But here's the thing about belief. It's fragile. And when an oil crisis and crazy inflation hit in 1973, the story changed. The belief shattered. And all that value that was created from it,
It vanished just as quickly as it appeared. Polaroid stock lost over 90% of its value. The money was real when people believed, and it was gone the second they stopped. It was never really about the factory floor.
And sometimes that belief isn't organic. It's totally manufactured. This gets us to the really fraudulent side of things, like the pump and dump schemes you saw in The Wolf of Wall Street. Those guys didn't just bet on belief, they created it. They'd use these insane high-pressure sales calls to whip up a frenzy of hype around a worthless stock, sell it all off at the peak, and then leave everybody else holding the bag. It's value created from pure, weaponized hype.
Okay, so we've had money from promises and money from belief. Now we get to the most extreme, the most dangerous form of creating value. Money that is made from things that are pure fiction. Things that don't just fail to live up to the hype, but things that don't even exist in the first place.
How is that even possible, right? Well, one of the key tools for this is a little accounting method called mark-to-market. Now, in theory, it's a totally legitimate thing. But in the hands of a company like, say, Enron, it became a financial weapon. They used it to book profits from deals that might happen 20 years in the future, or maybe never happen at all, and they counted that money as if it was real, hard cash sitting in their bank account today.
And this was the whole culture that fed the beast, this unshakable belief that they were geniuses. They didn't think they were just bending the rules. They believed they were inventing a whole new kind of company, one that didn't just sell energy, but one that traded the future of energy. They built this whole mythology that convinced Wall Street they were unstoppable gods.
And for a while, the fiction totally worked. At its peak, Enron had a market cap of $63 billion, an absolutely immense amount of value, built almost entirely on accounting tricks, and a complete fantasy about future profits.
And here's the punchline to the whole joke. This entire financial empire, a company that was praised for years as the most innovative in America, was a total house of cards. They were a pipeline company that got bored of actually building pipelines and decided to trade in fictions instead. The value was completely 100% disconnected from the real world.
And maybe the most shocking recent example of this whole phenomenon is Theranos. The promise was absolutely revolutionary. A machine that could run hundreds of medical tests from a single drop of your blood. The reality? The machine was a complete and utter fiction. It never ever worked. And yet, based on that lie, the company was valued at $9 billion. All because some very powerful people bought into a story about a product that was totally imaginary. So when you put all of this together, the promises, the belief, the outright fictions, a really clear picture starts to form. The value of money, especially in this huge financial economy, isn't necessarily tied to what we make anymore. It's tied to what we all collectively agree to believe in.
And if you want stone-cold proof of this on a national scale, just look at Switzerland. How did this tiny country with almost no natural resources become one of the wealthiest places on Earth? It sure wasn't by building factories. It did it by selling ideas, concepts, political neutrality, bank secrecy, stability. For centuries, Switzerland has monetized one core product: trust. Its incredible wealth is built not on what it produces, but on what it represents.
And at the end of the day, this applies to all forms of money. Gold is valuable because for thousands of years we've shared this belief in its rarity. A dollar bill is really just a piece of paper. Its value comes from our trust in the government's promise. And something new, like Bitcoin, has value because a huge global network of users believes in the integrity of its code. None of these things need a factory to be running to have value.
So what this all really means is that money isn't a physical resource like oil or lumber. It's a social technology. It's the most powerful story humanity has ever told itself. A system for organizing our trust, our promises, and our collective belief in what's to come. Its power doesn't come from being backed by stuff. It comes from our shared agreement that it has value. An agreement that lets us coordinate with each other on a massive global scale.
And this brings us to the fundamental tension of our age. This system of creating value from promises and belief has funded incredible innovation and amazing progress. But, as we've seen, it's also created these spectacular collapses that have just wiped people out. So what is our modern financial system? Is it this sophisticated engine pushing humanity forward, or is it becoming a dangerously fragile house of cards, built on a foundation of belief that could one day just crumble?